Someone once said that it's not always about how hard you row, sometimes it's just about your boat. And I like to make sure that I've got a good solid boat to help me out. So today I thought I would do something a little different and tell you about the software and apps that I use to run my handcrafted candle business. In the comment section of this channel, as well as on Facebook groups and so forth, I'm often asked by many of you, what do I use for my website? Or what software do I use for my labels? What do I use for shipping? What do I use for collaboration? What do I use for task management? And even, what do I use for my YouTube channel? So we're going to get to all of that plus more. Now this video is to highlight the different software and apps that I use and to tell you what I use them for. But obviously this video would be like several hours long if I went into a tutorial on how I use each one. So let me know in the comment section below if you would like me to do dedicated videos on some of these more specifically. By the way, I will have links in the description below to each one of these. Some of them will be referral or affiliate links, so hopefully they help you out as well. But I don't have one for all of these, but I just wanted to share you at least all the main core services or apps that I use. Thanks for being here. As always, let's dive right in. What do I use to run my website? Well, funny thing is, as many of you probably know, my website's been down for quite a long time now. I mean, 6 months at least, probably. As many of you know, I have been relocating, actually twice. And during that time, I had to make sure I could keep up on my wholesale white label accounts and some other massive projects going on that I had to, like, something had to give. So I had temporarily have my website kind of closed at the moment. Anyways, long story short, what am I using for that website? Well, I use Shopify. Now, I do plan to have another video on why I choose Shopify over Etsy, but really it doesn't matter. It's personal preference. We're all going to have our own opinion about this, and there are certainly pros and cons to both. But to answer the question, for my website, I do use Shopify. I've used it for 10 years now, I think. And there's a lot of great integrations and tools and plugins. It's very easy to set up out of the box. Now, things can get complicated the more you scale it and the more advanced you want to go, but it can be very easy just to kind of get going. And there's plenty of tutorials out there as well on it. In fact, I plan to do something on this channel regarding this as well in the future. Now, you can purchase your domain through Shopify as well, or you can get that somewhere else and just have it linked to your Shopify account. I actually purchased my domains through Google Domains, and then I just point that domain to Shopify to run the website. So some of this is going to sound overly complicated if you're brand new to running a website, so I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty in the weeds on it in this video. But Shopify is a great platform. In fact, it's probably the most popular one used by small businesses in the world today. While it's not perfect, and there's going to be little things that you just wish were different, I find much less of those in Shopify compared to the other platforms. Most of the other platforms are way too limiting for me unless you pay for expensive programming. The next one I want to talk about is really one application that covers 3 major roles for me, and that is Google Workspace. I use Google Workspace for business, and again, I can go into more details on how to set this up and really how to show you to take the most advantage of it in future videos, but I essentially use it for email, calendar, and then document. I'm assuming most of you are familiar with Google and Gmail. Probably don't have to tell you too much about using Gmail. It's just my email platform. However, you can get really creative with like multiple inboxes and labels and all that. So I kind of nerd out about that kind of stuff, but I understand most people probably don't. But I also use it for my calendar, and in Google Calendar, I have several calendars. I do have my primary calendar where I'll book appointments, and it's kind of used as my like main hub. But then I have several additional calendars. I use a second calendar to track like social media posts and content calendars, and even a calendar to track my entire YouTube schedule. I try to schedule things out. Now, obviously, it's flexible. I make changes as I need to, but I do use independent calendars to try to kind of keep those similar things together. That way you can uncheck one if you don't want to see that right now, or you can have them all checked so you see everything on your main calendar. Also, if I plan to do any product launches or new collection releases, I will put those as like primary goals or launch dates on the calendar, and then I will have milestones leading up to those. So for example, if I'm releasing a new collection in 6 months, I need to have a testing milestone done. I need to have labeling done. I need to have some pre-marketing done. I need to have a plan for all the graphics and social media posts that are going to happen all leading up to that launch. And you can use your calendar simply for that as well. And then lastly, in Google Workspace, I of course also use Google Drive. I mostly use it for docs and spreadsheets, but I will keep it for other resources and documents and PDFs as well. This is a great place to take some general notes. In fact, I write a lot of my YouTube ideas and outlines go in a document that I've got, some social media designs or label designs that I want to share and get some feedback on. Really, anything that I want to collaborate on, it's much easier to do through Google Drive than most other applications, at least in my experience. Next one up, many of you might be somewhat familiar with or have never heard of it at all, and that's called Monday.com. And I use Monday.com for task management. Basically, my day-to-day tasks, my weekly tasks, monthly tasks. I use it for my projects, so my big projects like rollouts and launches and new collections. It's a project management system. However, it does a lot more than that. You can create boards like a Trello board or a ClickUp board. You create boards in this, categorized by whatever topics you want. On those boards, you can do anything you want. You can use it to track your testing, or you can use it to document certain processes that you follow in your business. Now, I use it somewhat for the candle making, but I really use it for the administrative part of running my business. So I will have of information on my vendors and customers and potential clients that I'm working with, business ideas. I got one board that's just called an idea hub. So literally anything that pops on my mind is something I want to do potentially for the business. I'll just add it on the board and then worry about it later. I just don't want to forget the idea. And then I'll go back occasionally to that board and say, yeah, this is a serious one. So let me go ahead and mark this as something I want to do later. So I use Monday.com for a lot of different things. You can use it for finances and projects and tasks and CRMs. You can use it for like pretty much everything. But I think the key with it is keeping it simple at first. If you've heard of other things like ClickUp and Notion, the problem with them is they can take a long time to get set up and they're a little complicated. And I feel like you're spending more time setting up than you are actually using it. And there's nothing wrong with either one of those. But for those of you looking to get started a little sooner and quicker and just easier to grasp, I would start with Monday because you'll hit the ground running a lot sooner. Anyways, again, a link for that will be in the description below. So the next one is going to be of no surprise to anyone that's been on this channel for a while. They've sponsored multiple videos on this channel, and that is CraftyBase. And I use CraftyBase for so many things. And if you're interested in the details of all these different things that I use it for, I do have a couple other videos that go into more specifics. But to overview them, I use it to track all my raw materials, my finished goods inventory, expenses related to inventory. I use it to track my orders. I use it to create recipes of my products. And then once those recipes are created, if I need to make another batch, I just go to that recipe and I say, create another batch. They call them manufacturers. And then everything is done within that system. So not only do I know exactly what I need to make something, when I do make it, it deducts the inventory for me and it tracks that throughout the process. It tracks it over time. So at the end of a month or a quarter or a year, I know what materials I have left, which ones I've used. It helps you with your cost of goods and filing your Schedule C come tax time. There's just so many great benefits to using CraftyBase. In fact, most systems that do what it does on a larger scale cost so much money, and this one doesn't. So I really, really enjoy CraftyBase. I've used it. I really couldn't use my business without it at this point. I've used it for a very, very long time. Again, a link will be in the description below. And if you're interested in more information on CraftyBase, check out my overview videos that show you the main functions and features and kind of how I use it. But I have some other specific ones on how to do certain things in CraftyBase as well. And there's more of that to come in the future. Sort of related to CraftyBase, the next one I'm going to talk about is QuickBooks. And you might be wondering, well, why would I use QuickBooks? I use QuickBooks Online, by the way, not the desktop version. But you might be wondering why I would use that when I also have CraftyBase, which CraftyBase does a lot of the same things. And so why do I do both? Well, CraftyBase does some things that QuickBooks can't, and QuickBooks is meant to do some things that CraftyBase isn't. And now, it's not that you can't get creative and make one do some of the work as the other, but think of it this way. CraftyBase is really, really good at running your operations, your internal operations, your inventory, your recipes, tracking your orders and your products and all of that. Whereas QuickBooks at the end of the year is what is tracking your assets and your liabilities and your cash in your bank account. And it's your final books that you turn over to an accountant. CraftyBase is helping you as a manufacturer, as a hand crafter, but it's not tracking your bank account. It's not, you know what I mean? So they work hand in hand, and I will be doing some future, I haven't decided if there's going to be videos or classes or webinars kind of showing and helping people with this and how I use them in tandem, but it's really important to use them in tandem. Conversely, if you try to only use QuickBooks, well, QuickBooks is not going to do 80% of what I'm doing in CraftyBase. So that is why I use both. If you're just a hobbyist, then this may not matter to you, but if you're considering starting a business or you are in the early stages of starting a business, then I would definitely take a look at both. So what am I using for creatives and designing different things, different things that I use in the business, whether it's graphics or labels or social media posts or whatever? I use Canva for that, and I use the Canva Pro. I will have that linked in the description below as well. And you don't have to start with the Pro. You can use Canva for free, but if you decide you want more functionality and more assets that you can use in your materials, then you can upgrade to Pro. Canva's pretty cheap either way. What I use Canva for is not really for labels. I don't really use it for product labels, although many people do, and you certainly can. I use it more for designing social media things, and for I use it to design the thumbnails here on my YouTube channel. I use it for, I guess, just general quick designs that I might need for whatever. banners and ads or posts, whatever. That's really what I use Canva for. It's just so simple and user-friendly that I think most of you are probably already using Canva right now. So I probably don't need to spend too much time on it. But if you are new and you want to check it out, it's in the description. Now, when I need to do more advanced editing, I am a Adobe Creative Cloud subscriber, so I pay for that monthly. And with that, I'm getting Photoshop and Adobe Premiere and After Effects and Lightroom and all of those. So when I'm doing product photography, I will typically take those pictures and then take them into Adobe Lightroom to make them look a little bit better. Sometimes I skip that step unless it's really needed. And then I usually finish them up in Photoshop. Photoshop is just a lot more dynamic and do a lot more than something like Canva can. However, it's not really always necessary, I would say. So that's what I mostly use Photoshop for, is cleaning up product photography. And sometimes if I want to get super creative with a thumbnail. The biggest application that I use from the Adobe suite is Adobe Premiere Pro, which is the video editing. It is a complicated editing software. It's not the cheapest one, but once you learn it, it's a very, very good one. It's definitely in the top 2 or 3 most popular editing platforms in the world. So I use that for my YouTube videos. I am not an editing expert. I never have been, but over the years, I learned enough to be dangerous, so to speak. So I'm not an expert by any means, and there's so many things I don't know or I'm very slow at doing, but I know more than just average person that doesn't do any editing. So it helps me do most of the editing in my own channel, which is really, really nice and saves me money because editing isn't cheap. Next up, what do I use for shipping products? So this is a 2-part answer. If anything is done through my website, then I use the built-in shipping service provided by Shopify. It's great. You get very good rates, and depending on your plan, you can even get better ones. But it's all integrated, so it's just so much easier to use something that's already integrated into your order, in your websites. So that is what I use by default, and I use that 95% of the time. You can set up different carriers, you can set up flat rate shipping, or you can do calculated shipping based off the size and the weight of the package. They offer cubic pricing, first rate, priority, UPS, FedEx, DHL. I mean, there's everything. So I use Shopify's integrated shipping service most of the time. And I do plan, once I get settled in my new space, to show you a little bit more behind the scenes stuff of how I do a lot of these business operations. However, there is another use case when I use a different shipping service when for some reason I can't do it through my website, and that is PirateShip. Most of you are probably familiar with PirateShip as well. It's good shipping rates. They are discounted rates. It's not as good as the ones I can get from Shopify, especially if you're on one of the better plans, but it is still really discounted. It's a very, very good service. So what are the times I would use PirateShip? Well, if it's something I need to ship to someone that isn't an order in my website, for example, I'm not going to go create some kind of fake phantom order on my website just to get the shipping discount, unless it's going to be like really substantial. But I've done it, but it just gets messy. So I use PirateShip for any other shipments I need to do that really aren't related to an online sale. By the way, PirateShip's free, so start with that. So if you're fairly new to this, even if you're not new to this, start with PirateShip. It's free, and there's no really drawback to using it, other than maybe it's not as seamless if you're already using Shopify service. So what about labels? This is also kind of a multi-part answer. Let's start with designing the labels. If I'm going to design labels that I'm going to print myself at home, I can use online labels, or I can still design them in Canva or Photoshop or wherever, and then I'll use onlinelabels.com to print those labels on blank labels that I've ordered from onlinelabels.com. Many of you probably already use them and are familiar with them. Great service. You can order so many different types of labels of any size, any type, any shape, any color, multiple paper types, multiple quantities, whatever you need. So if you're printing your own labels at home, I would highly suggest you check out onlinelabels.com. And if you do, they come with their own label designer. Now, you don't have to design them on there. You can upload your finished design to it, but it helps you print your labels onto your blank sheets. If I'm not printing my own labels, which at this point in my career, I really only print my own labels for doing small collections, small runs, specialty collections, special occasions, seasonal collections, things like that, or where I just don't need a ton of labels, I'll do all that at home. Otherwise, I have my labels printed elsewhere. I design my labels in Photoshop 99% of the time because I can do more with it, but you can do them in Canva or wherever. And then I will use one of 2 primary places to print my labels. The first one is Sticker Mule, and the reason I use them, even though they're not necessarily the cheapest on some sizes and types, nor do they have as many options, is there's certain labels there or certain designs that I get from them that just look the best on their labels, and I'm not going to change something that's not broken. So I use Sticker Mule for not just labels, but a few other products as well. They've got a lot of different options. I've used some shirts. Some of the shirts you've seen me wear, I've actually purchased from Sticker Mule. So I use it for a variety of things, not just labels. However, many other labels are printed from lightninglabels.com. Now, many of you have seen some of that kind of black metallic looking labels that I use on my standard collection. And I get questions about that all the time. I do have those printed. I design them, but I have them printed at lightninglabels.com. And I do it on their chrome bot paper. Looks great, looks sharp. Definitely work with them on how to make sure you're designing it correctly so it prints that well. But great customer service, great products, great pricing. That's my long-winded answer of what I use for labels. All right, so next is something that had not been part of my business, Black Tie Barn, until about a year ago. And that is this YouTube channel. Now, while it doesn't directly have to do with me making and selling candles, it's still candle related. My YouTube channel is obviously about running a candle making business. And I get questions from a lot of you about my channel and how it works and what do I use and what's it been like and things like that. So it is still fairly new. As many of you know, I just started this last year. Well, I technically started a little bit before that. Then I took a huge break because once I post like a video, I kind of forgot about it, then moved, and I just basically started all over. Well, let me put it this way. I'm in my second year of running this channel. And in this video, I don't want to get into the particulars, like how I run it and how I do my videos and what do I use to record the videos and how much I make from running this YouTube channel and basically how that entire world works. If you are interested in that though, let me know in the comments and I will consider doing a video about this and if you guys are interested. I've had a lot of people express interest in it. I just have kind of held off. If you guys really want to see and hear about it, then I will share it. Otherwise, it's not my plan to do it on this channel. With that being said, it is a part of my business. And this video is about the software I use for my business. So I use YouTube Studio, is what it's called. YouTube Studio is where you upload your videos and create your descriptions and all of your channel graphics and where you can respond to comments and make other community posts. It's where I put my video thumbnails and create my titles and descriptions. And YouTube Studio is the platform that you run your YouTube channel off of. A lot of the software I have mentioned today is used in multiple aspects or all aspects of running my small business. Hope you guys enjoyed learning about the different tools and applications that I use for different aspects of the business and why and when I use them. Again, if you're interested in more deep dives into each one of these or some of these, just let me know. Let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to do it. I like talking about that kind of stuff. So if you guys have interest in it, I will definitely do more videos showing breakdowns more specifically of how I use each one in each case. And if that includes YouTube, then so be it. All right, thank you all for being here. As always, please subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. I would love to have you around for future videos. And if you wouldn't mind, give it a thumbs up. I'll see you all next time.